Great day on this Sunday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. here in Texas and across the US of A. Want to welcome you to the BNN 247, the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA. We're broadcasting from a Black perspective. That doesn't mean you're not talking to everybody. We're talking to everybody about the things that need to be broken down that's happening in Washington, D.C. and across the U.S. of A. So today, our topic is about the school lunch program, the Department of Education and the Department of Agriculture. We're trying to figure out how they intend to continue funding for our summer lunch programs. Because look at the consequences of taking away WIC. Look at the consequences of taking away a summer school lunch program. There are millions of children that can go without food and nutrition. And there's some consequences to that too, big consequences. But without further ado, I would like to bring to the stage my co-host and my friend, Mr. Claude Foster. I want you to say hi to him and thank him for being here today.
Hello, my brother. How's it going on this bright and sunny afternoon? I look forward to our discussion today on the National School Lunch Program and its implications. If it's messed with in any way, if it's reduced, if the funding is cut, it's going to have a disparative impact on us as Black people. I mean, it affects all kids, but when it rains, it pours on us. So I look forward to this discussion, but one to enlighten people about the program.
Okay.
And kind of broaden, because the Trump administration is talking about cutting $300 billion.
$300 billion
from the program. So that tells you how large the program is.
That's a lot of dough.
That's a lot of dough. And that's a lot of children.
That's a lot of babies that's not going to be able to eat.
That's not going to get a healthy meal, or some states even feed in the summer after continue the program after school is out. I think Texas does that.
Yeah, that's kind of what my concern has been. These kids, it's thousands of kids right here in the little city I'm in, going to the schools during the summer just to get a bag lunch. Right. And the parents depend on that too, because look at the cost of what it costs to feed a child during the summer when he's out of school. Parents are not having to pay the cost right now. All of that stuff they pay it, but they're not paying it directly to the grocery store and preparing lunches for their children. So there's a consequence to that. But go ahead.
And there's a political consequence, because just like with Medicaid, with Texas not expanding Medicaid, what's going to happen if the federal funds go from this program? Is Texas going to take up the slack? Does Texas care enough about the kids that we're talking about to pick up the slack? That's a political question our political leaders need to be asking.
Because this whole program is federally funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA.
Yeah.
And what I'm concerned, why lunch programs are important for us in our communities as, middle class and upper lower class and on down. Huh?
Has Trump been the first president since 1946 to even talk about cutting this program? I don't recall any other.
That's not going to concern anybody else. But Trump is Doge started to look at what we're giving to public school systems.
So since 1946, when the program was signed into law, no president has cut it.
No, not to my knowledge. I haven't seen any research on any president being concerned about what's going on with the school lunch program.
Because it's such a vital program. It's part of our national obligation.
Yeah, it addresses food insecurities. Right. I mean, all of us can't afford food 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day. It preserves the summer learning. I mean, if they learn all this stuff during the school year, and then they got the 3 or 4 months out, and they're not eating properly, then that drains on your intelligence as well. It's
Right.
a healthy growth and development. It keeps the kids from going into the student frenzy where they eat anything they can get their hands on. It's a particular meal. It should be a healthy meal. As long as they can get it from, as long as the Department of Agriculture is providing it to the school systems.
And you got to understand, it's free and reduced lunch based on that family's income. If their income is below a certain level, it's free. If they make it just a little bit more, it's reduced. So,
and you know, they improved that act that you said 1946.
Was right.
Okay, they did a modification to that act one time that I found, and it's called the Healthy, Hungry, Free Kids Act of 2010. They changed the way they feed the kids. They made the food more nutritious, and that's where the farmers come in from the Department of Agriculture by providing a certain level of a certain quality of food to the kids or to the schools to provide for the kids.
Right. But you know, if you know the irony of this discussion, if we just raise the minimum wage till around $10 an hour, you know what I'm saying? They're cutting these programs without changing the quality of life and the need of the people that.
So you're taking away an expense that the families don't have, and now you're making the families responsible for it.
If that mother is out there working a full-time job, making $7 an hour, and she qualifies for free lunch, and you're not impacting that $7 an hour, you're not jumping that up to $10 an hour, but yet you're gonna turn around and take the free lunch away from the child, man. Man, think how evil that is.
That's very evil. And you know what? It doesn't only affect the lunch that they have at the school during the summer. It also cuts from the supplemental nutrition assistance program. And this bill or this cut is approved, or if they're part of this $300 billion.
That's a big cut, man. 300 billion?
It's a lot. It's way over what I'm thinking we should be taking from this program. It's already helping underprivileged kids in inner cities, but
well, I think some of these programs, man, gonna hit some of these red states like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. You know, you talking about poor white folks.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it ain't just poor. It ain't just black folks that's impacted. And I think they done got rid of the scalpel in the Trump administration. They done took out the butcher knife. They just cutting deep and they cutting hard. And eventually
they cutting areas that don't really affect well-to-do people.
Well, they are starting now. They are the red states, the Texases, the Mississippis, the Alabamas, and all this kind of stuff.
What do you mean they're the red states? What do you mean?
They vote Republican.
Okay.
The blue states, they vote Democrat.
Okay.
So the red states is where this going to have a significant impact. That's where the red states are where most of the minorities are in this country. Okay. And these black folks are in the red states, the Alabama, the Mississippi, the Georgia, the Tennessee, the Arkansas, red state, all red states. So are those states governments going to push back on this?
Well, the government's going to have to pick up the cost either way you look at it.
You think Mississippi going to pick up the cost, man?
They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it at the same level. In other words, this is what is happening here. The quality of food right now is the way it should be, But it's in a higher level, and then it would be if they put the family on the program. Then they start to get this thing called commodity food. Commodity food, if you don't know it, is what we grew up on in the South because we were of low income status. We were low income students. So because we were low income students, they gave us this box of commodity products: powdered milk, powdered eggs, a big block of cheese that come from some warehouse. You remember that big block of cheese?
But they don't do that no more.
Best cheese I ever ate, though, to be honest with you.
But they don't do that, do they?
Yeah, they do. I just went to a house a couple of months ago, and they had the two big boxes from the Department of Agriculture with the big block of cheese, the no name eggs, the no name milk. It was all in this box. I should have took pictures of that box.
Yeah, you should have took a picture of it. Had it on.
It's got beans in it. It's got contents in it, and they all don't have names on the packages.
Wow.
They are sold, and they do this once a month in the state of Mississippi, especially right there in the Delta. They are giving out these boxes full of nutritional items from the Department of Agriculture for families who are of low income status and who have low income students who have kids. So it's still being done behind the curtain.
Okay.
So I commend Mississippi on that part to be giving out that type of product, and the product's not bad. I mean, they have orange juice in there, cranberry juice, grape juice, big jugs, and it's a benefit to those families.
But I thought SNAP replaced that.
They still have SNAP now. SNAP is in addition to that.
The card that they get, the garden the battles products. I didn't know they still do that. What?
So the funding source for the school lunch program is through the combination of federal, state, and local sources, ensuring there's a robust amount of financing for the system. So if the federal pull out, you're still going to have some funding from the state and some local sources. Now, what are we doing though? In the meantime, while all this government stuff is going on, you got families out here, you got people out here that can take their organizations and supplement what's not happening in these schools and to ensure that children eat during the summer. That's our objective here, is to see that we got consistency of feeding these children during the summer. So in order to do that, how do we mobilize? How do we call to action these organizations in the city and in our cities? And speaking primarily of the Divine Nine, I'm talking about other organizations outside the Divine Nine, the 501c3s. All these different organizations should actively be thinking about what can they do to assist these schools during the summer to support these children. They can do that. That's one call to action that we would like to put out on BNN 247, the Divine Nine, and any 503, 5031C or 50C13 organizations come out and see what they can do to help these schools provide for the children. Now, there's a school in almost every neighborhood. How many times have the family members taken the time to understand what's actually happening in this school? They need to go to this school. It's got to be a partnership with farmers. It's got to be a collaboration with fraternities, with every single entity in the city to ensure that the children are fed. We've got to feed the children. And right now, if we don't step in and do something, the quality of what these children will be eating is below standard. How would you like them to be eating processed chicken every time they go to the school? these patties, these nuggets, and anything else that's made from meat being combined together from thousands of cows and made into a hamburger bun, or 100 million chickens, pieces and bones being made into a nugget. How would you like your child to go through a school and have to eat that during the summer? We can do better. There's a lot of us capable of putting more into this.
Well, I mean, I appreciate your thoughts on that, but not only are not we feeding the children nutritiously, we're not feeding them academically. A lot of these schools, the kids are failing, and the community hadn't necessarily. Huh?
Still have a high failing rate in our schools. I haven't looked at that yet.
Yeah, look at the in majority minority schools, majority black schools. Yeah, the kids are failing. The kids are not performing well, and
That's
so
the reason for that, though. Well, it's about nutrition.
Well, no, it's nutrition, but it's also economics.
Exactly. It's definitely economics. If we ain't got the money to give our children a decent meal at home, we got a problem. They have to have an adequate serving of fruits and vegetables and essentials for providing vitamins and minerals necessary for growth. And if they're not getting this stuff, then that means they are not developing mentally the way they should. Meals are designed for balance. You got to design, the schools design the meals for balance, and they try to incorporate a variety of groups to support the children's health. That's not what we're seeing.
Right.
That's bad.
Well, and like you say, I don't know the impact of $300 billion from that program is going to be, but it's going to be severe. We talking about 300 with a B, billion proposed cut to that program. Now,
and how do they? Let's say you got 300 billion in the. You know how we did it in the military, right? If let's say your department had a budget, and your budget, let's just use $1,000. And so you go through the year, I'm using this as an example. You go through the year and your expenses for your department came out to be $795 at the end of the year. So as what the government does, if your expenses, let's say $800, if your expenses was $800 for the year, over 200 that's taken from your budget and given to somebody who said, well, if we don't spend all this money, then they are going to cut our budget. So the objective in 99% of every government department is to expend every single penny in their budget so the ensuing year they can get more money. And so now Donald Trump, our president, is reeling all that back in because the mentality of the government is to spend everything in your budget, whether you need it or not. So close to the end of the year, the last quarter, people are running out buying dumb stuff to put in their offices that they don't even need, just to spend their budget. But that money could be turned back over to the federal government, and you would probably save $1 billion because everybody ain't spending all that money on worthy things, on what they really need in that city, in that department. So, I don't think it's a far-fetched idea. I think it's not much as the Defense Department $11 trillion. $1 trillion budget. That's what they have. So we got to realize that the president, Donald Trump, is not necessarily doing some bad things when he come back, when he's rolling all these budgets back. He's cutting the budgets and he's lining his pockets as well. But the bottom line is it should have been done a long time ago because that money is not necessarily being spent wisely.
Well, brother, let me clarify something. he's cutting the budget because he's cutting taxes for the wealthiest top 10% in this country, or top 1%.
Right.
So if you're getting less money from them, you got to take if you're getting less from the greatest of these, you got to take from the least of these, and that's what he's doing, because he's got to offset the tax breaks he's giving to the wealthiest of Americans, and he's doing that on the backs of the poorest Americans, and he's doing it in a way that pits poor whites against other marginalized groups like poor blacks, because in this country we've painted the whole social welfare program as a black handout kind of system.
Absolutely, yeah.
That blacks are taking advantage of it. I don't care whether it's WIC, SNAP, TRAP, whatever it is. They paint it with a black face. So when he cuts $300 billion from that program, he's cutting $300 billion from people that look like you and me. And that's why when you look at the states, it's only 10 states that do this year round. The kids don't stop eating. The kids' nutritional necessity don't stop when school's out after 9 months of the year. Who feeds them the other 3 months? If they was fed by the state for 9 months, what happens to them for 3 months they're not in school? Only 10 states have year-round programs. And that's why Vice President Walsh in Minnesota, he talked about this when he was running for vice president, about expanding the program year round. That was one of his agenda items that he was going to accomplish.
That he was going to put out
if he had won. So this ain't about budgets in the sense that where you just brought up about you need to cut to save. This is more evil in terms of the impact of it. Yeah, it's evil. When you are taking money from the poorest people and giving it to the richest people, that ain't evil. That ain't got nothing to do with no budget. That don't have nothing to do with no budget.
It's a really bad way to govern.
Right, because
when you're pushing the poor people further down the stratification level system, then you're wrong for that, and you're 100% wrong for doing it. So
we don't
I don't condone what he's doing. I do condone getting the money from the budget, cutting $300 billion, but I don't condone cutting it from necessary programs for the poor. I don't condone that. So there's a big, they shouldn't even be focused on little things like school lunch program. I bet that ain't even enough to even consider cutting. But it's a lot if you really want to hurt somebody, and you want to make a big deal of it.
It's the school lunch program. It's the school breakfast program. It's the special milk program called SMP. It's the summer food service program. What I mentioned about the states that have that. Child and adult care food program. So it's more than just the kids getting breakfast at school or getting free lunch at school. It covers across the whole range of society, from childhood to adulthood. You know, I mean, and he's taking money. Think about it, man. If you got a body, and the first thing that you're gonna grab, you're gonna take out the heart. You're just gonna snatch out the heart.
Yeah.
Is the body gonna survive?
No.
You take away nutrition out of the body, healthy food, a balanced diet. Is the body gonna survive? Is the mind gonna function?
No, it's not.
And so,
all right. So
what I'm saying is, it's evil when you look at the amount of money that he's taking from just that one program. He's taking money from other programs because the reason why they're trying to cut the budget, they're trying to do some stuff on the other side. And this is where there's got to be a greater understanding on the public side about what is really going on. Because I just, unless, I mean, you hear our elected officials, you don't really hear them talking about this. Not really.
That's a problem.
There hadn't really been
a big problem.
There hadn't really been a loud outcry because it impacts the most silent people in our society.
That's right.
That's the low income. These are the people without a voice, without a political voice, without a political ally. The only time that they really matter is when it's the election time and they want to come out and vote, and they use racial trolls to get them to go to the polls and vote. While at the same time, this is the kind of issue.
Yeah.
I bet we can scan the internet, scan all the podcasts, and this is probably one of the few programs talking about this issue.
So what are some of the things that are positive about the school program?
I kind of did a little research on it, and I came up with it definitely improves the student health. I mean, these kids are growing, and they don't grow if they don't get the proper nutrition. That is why you see certain groups of people that look like they should have been bigger, but they're not. They're underage, undersized, and deficient in their immune system and the rest of their health. Nutritional meals contribute to better overall health among students, and it fosters a healthier lifestyle for these children. And that is what we've been trying to work on and in our children. And you see the problem here. I know it's a problem here with obesity, and children are obese because they overeat because they don't get the proper nutrition when they should. So when they get an opportunity to eat, everything in sight. So how can you blame these kids for being overweight right now when you're not providing them a system of proper nutrition? That's a big deal too. So if you're interfering with that process and making it worse, then you're only opening up the Pandora's box to create more unhealthy children. So are you trying to decrease the population in the United States by creating unhealthy kids and increase the money in the doctors and insurance policies? What are you doing? I don't understand it. It's so many variables to what's happening out here with this money, this $300 billion they're taking with the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Education.
What is Texas's allocation of that? How much does Texas get?
I don't know what each state gets. I do know that Texas is on the review as well as the rest of these states. And I don't think they're trying to pick on, they're probably picking on blue states more, but they definitely are cutting money from places that they think don't need it.
Well,
and that's the first choice, but they really don't care where they get it.
Well, obviously the poor states need it more so than the states.
You know how many people are on this program and will be at risk? It's over 6.7 million people that will be at risk if they cut this program. That's how many people that are fed during the summer by this 100% funded program by the Department of Agriculture. Over 6.7 million children. And now I'm going to say not only children. This whole program, this $200 billion is coming from other programs too. It's not going to directly affect the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, but in the WIC program, the Women, Infant, and Children program, it is going to, because these programs have some kind of ties to the summer feeding program and that money, it's going to cut some of those programs too. And just because they have WIC, SNAP, and the summer programs, half of the kids don't use it. So you got 6.7 million that are inside the program. You got another 10 million that don't even bother to be in that program, or the parents don't give them the opportunity to be in that program. So this is why you have the problem of obesity. You have the problem of underperforming children in school and low grades, because they don't make the process available to everybody. You can be 30% over 130% below the poverty level, and you won't qualify for these programs. But you have to be below the poverty level to be eligible. And for that many people, 6.7 million to be on the program, that's a lot of people below the poverty level. That's a whole lot of people.
Well, you got different categories now. You got free and reduced, and then you got people that pay the full price. So everybody at a school, if you were on the north side of San Antonio, and you go to a school over there, probably nobody there is on free or reduced lunch. So because it's based on family income. Yeah. So the poorer the area, that's why I go back to the red states. You get into Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, the majority of the kids that look like you and me are going to be on those free and reduced lunch program because of the income level of their parents. And just because something is reduced, a parent may be on the margin, making the absolute minimum margin, and the lunch ain't free, it's reduced, and the parent can't afford to pay that reduced price. So the kid goes without lunch. I think nutrition, first of all, I think the program, if a parent is making $7 an hour on a job, the meal should be free. The nutritional program at school should be free. No, but it's on a sliding scale.
Yeah. How are you going to be 130% below the poverty level? That's crazy. You got to be almost living on shoestrings and leather. Eating, boiling your shoes to eat.
Well, if you're
130% below the poverty, what's the poverty level? 27,000.
Okay, if you're a family of four and you're at 130% of the poverty level, you can make up to $3,482.92 a month. That's it.
So that breaks down to what?
A year?
$600, $700 a week.
Okay, if a family of four at 130%, that breaks down. You can make no more than $41,795 a month, a year.
It's almost impossible to live in America with that income. Those people work two jobs.
That's a year. If you're making a $7 an hour job, and you got two people in that household and two kids, they barely making $40,000 a year between the both of them.
And you can't make it like that. You're on WIC, you're on SNAP, you got all this.
But now let me throw this at you. Now the state of Texas just passed vouchers, right?
Yes.
So if you want to use a voucher, if you want the state to give you voucher money, you can make 5%, 500% of the federal poverty guidelines, right? You know how much that is a month? For a family of four, 500% to be eligible for them $1,000 vouchers, you can make at 500%, you can make up to $16,075 a month. Now, who was that for? Who is that benefiting, bro?
It ain't benefiting the poor.
Who is that for? How did they pass a law like? No, listen, look. Okay, let me tell you how much that is a month for a family of four at 500%. That means that family of four that wants that $1,000 voucher from Texas can make $160,750 a year. And your tax dollars can go to that family for them to send their kid to a private school? Give me a
You
point.
know who helped develop that program for the Governor Abbott, right?
No, the sponsor of the legislation came from Texas. In his district in Texas, he got 13 private schools already in his district. He's in a wealthy area of Houston. It's not the Woodlands. It's
One of his best friends is Pastor Hagee in San Antonio, and Pastor Hagee got a K through 12 school on his compound, and
and what's the income of the people that go to that church?
hundreds, 200s, 300s,
So they
400,000,
so
$500,000 a year or more.
But if they got people now, they said, think about it, 500% of the federal poverty guidelines, and you get $1,000 voucher from the state. You don't need that.
It goes into the coffers of these people, these oligarchs. It goes into the pocket.
No,
it's their money.
No,
huh?
It's another way to segregate kids. I mean,
you can bet ain't very many black people out there past the Hagee's school. They're not going to that school.
Right.
What happened at the public school? I'm not saying anything about vouchers, though. Voucher systems are not as beautiful as they seem, because once you get, let's say you're a poor person and you got school vouchers and you go to any school you want to. Oh, I'm going to send my child to this school. So you take your voucher over there. That school has the right to reject you and tell you, well, we don't want you at this school. And the second part about these vouchers is that you got a voucher and you take it to this school and your voucher is for $1,000, but the school is requiring you to pay $1,700. You, as a parent, you're responsible for that $700.
No,
in addition to that voucher.
The voucher is $10,000, right? The $10,000.
Well, I'm just using 1,000 as an example.
Right.
But whatever in addition to that voucher that school may cost, the parent is responsible for paying it. So that voucher don't cover what the public school system covers. Your child goes to public school. So you can go to the public school system and give them that voucher, and your child will be covered. You want to be particular and take your child to a particular school, then you are responsible for the difference if you enroll your kid in that school. So the voucher system has never been for the poor. It's always been for the wealthy.
Well, I mean, there are probably black families that send their kids to private schools that fall within that 500% of the federal poverty level. That probably could use that $10,000 to help offset some of the costs. I don't have a problem with that, but you're gonna have more whites in that probably sending their kids to private school that voucher program is going to benefit, and because they're already sending their kids there. Their kids are not in public schools; they're already in private schools. Yeah. So that $10,000 is like it fell out of the sky for them.
Yeah. That's right.
Because they could already afford to send them. If you're making $150,000 a year, you can afford this. If you want your child to have advantages and stuff, you can afford to send them to private school.
Yeah, that's right. You should.
And the way the tax code is manipulated and the deductions and all like that, it's easy to get your income down. It doesn't say gross. It doesn't say gross. It says annual income.
Right.
5%. I mean, 500%. So I don't know whether that's adjusted, gross, or whatever, but that $10,000 is $10,000.
Either way you look at it.
I think that's per child.
So now we got to kind of figure out a way to expand this program or some kind of way to increase the funding. And what I'm thinking is, number one, the school systems that we're talking about that have fed kids over the past years, they don't get involved over the year on planning for the summer. They got committees, teams that work on it. There has to be a more intense what the summer program entails. And the second thing that can happen is we got to start doing the schools and the public and the community got to start doing some partnership development, because that is going to help the school provide this program during the summer. That partnership development can be with all of our fraternities, the Divine Nine. I like talking about them. They can get involved in schools. I think if we as organizations start to focus our attention on elementary schools, we can make a difference when these kids get to high school. Right now, kids are coming out of high school and they have no desire to do very much at all. Now, some of us got kids that are excelling right now, going to places, doing things, making a business out of nothing. So, if we are not putting programs in place for them to move forward, they go through school and set the right standards in their mind, get the mentality working in a certain way while they're young, then we're developing failures already. So we got to get partnership development. We got to increase the funding, and we got to get the schools to take an active role in planning these events with the public during the year. So that's three things I think can help change the trajectory of what we're producing right now. Because like you were saying earlier, our kids are failing. They need I think nutrition has a number one effect on a child's ability to develop or to retain information. If you're not developing your brain with the proper nutrition, then your brain stays where it's at. It can't grow. We got to do something about how these children are receiving nutrition. How you as an adult know what you need. You know what you need to eat. You know you need to have your fruits and vegetables and your vitamins and whatever else. But a child only eats what he sees. He eats what you give him as long as it tastes good. So how do we ensure that they stop eating all this Skittles and all this these damn Doritos and potato chips and candy and taco? You heard of this taco thing? This hot taco? They're eating the hell out of this stuff. We got to do something about that. We also got to increase. We got to come up with a process where we can maybe do meal delivery. Organizations right now can sit in their frat houses or their business houses and make bag lunches on a daily basis and have couriers come through like I ain't gonna say it's gonna be, what is it? I don't even know none of these damn things that go around and feed people, but we can do mobile meal delivery units. If people agree and say, hey, I can do 10 today, stay. We set people up so they can start delivering these meals. And ensure these children eat right. Because some parents tell their kids, you better not leave this damn house. They're at work and the child sitting at home opening the refrigerator every other hour, but ain't nothing in there. You know, they still got to eat. So if we would set our own systems up and take that active role, we can go somewhere. But one thing about communities, Claude, that I've noticed, communities now have grown into independent communities. Your community is in your home and that's it. Most communities are not functioning as a community where at least 7 out of 10 houses are participating in a particular event. In some close-knit communities, like this community I know called Dignowity. Dignowity is the oldest community in San Antonio. They still have that. That's what I think is beautiful about it. So what I'm saying is we got to come back as communities now. Somebody got to start knocking on doors and asking people
Now,
to meet.
Dinwiddie is in District 2, right?
Yeah, it's in District 2.
So why did they have the lowest voter turnout in the recent municipal elections in District 2?
That's a daggum good question. I wish I could answer it. I think the reason
it's low though. In my opinion, is people are afraid right now to talk to their neighbor because they don't know their neighbor. The turnover of people has been so great in almost every community that you don't know who lives next door to you. And the turnover is a result of finance. The money is not available for them to afford to live where they live. So they live there long as they can, and then they go somewhere else long as they can. People are not staying. If you have found very many people been in a house since the house was built, 1970s and the 50s, 60s, 70s. When you find a neighborhood like that, then you're going to find closer people. You're going to find people that watch out for people more. But in today's communities, as fast as they're coming up, don't nobody know nobody, and ain't nobody having no block parties, and ain't nobody going to no community meetings. Don't nobody want to serve on no damn homeowners association. People ain't got time for stuff that ain't paying them, so they don't do it. But if they wanted to be focused on the community, that's what they would be doing.
Right. Well,
what you think? Where you in your area in Houston? How does that work?
Well, Pearland. I'm in Pearland. It's probably. I think we just got beat out as being the most desirable city in the country to live. And
number two or what?
Number two, we were. I forget who we were beat out by. Some city in Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. Yeah, suburban city. But elections have consequences, man. It ain't like these people didn't tell you what they was going to do, and they're doing exactly what they said because we didn't turn out.
The president did.
Now, in my home state, about the voting rights movement started in Alabama. But you've had laws passed that kind of restrict the rights of people to vote, access to the vote, voter ID laws. All these things matter. All these things. If you can shave a little bit here, you can shave a little bit there. Remember, the people that voted against this current administration, 71 million people voted against this man. So all you got to do is shave a little bit over here, a little bit in this state, a little bit in that state, a little bit over here. And that's what they did. And we sat back and allowed it to happen. Now we're suffering the consequences. I don't think that we did a good job of explaining people that on free and reduced lunch why they need to get out there and vote, because the axe is coming. Same thing with people on Medicare and Medicaid and stuff like that, because we wasn't talking about those issues. We were talking about racism and in a broad sense. But the onslaught, the attack on these programs is racial. You can't convince me otherwise. It has a racial undertone. Because the people impacted the most with these job cuts and all these policies look like you and me. And I just don't think that there was enough of these kind of shows around to talk to people in the way we talk to them to elevate their political engagement. So this kind of stuff don't happen to them.
Sound like you're going straight back to the vote.
Well, I mean, we are this is, think about it, man. This program has been around since 1946. No president since 1946 has saw a need to put the knife to it like this current administration.
That's right.
It ain't like the program just started. It's been around since 1946.
That's a long time. And it has it, I guess they're trying to say these other presidents probably said, well, it ain't broke, so don't touch it.
Well, the other
but what has it really helped in America? What has it really done?
Well, the reason why we feed kids in schools is because we know a hungry stomach can't learn. If the kid is focused on his stomach, he's not dealing with the mind. So
I remember something as a child growing up, and maybe I would be sitting down eating an apple or had a bag lunch or something,
and I'd offer it to somebody, and somebody would say, "Well, I ain't hungry." You know, they didn't have anything, but they'll tell you they're not hungry because they're being embarrassed.
I mean, you have people. I worked in public education for a little while. You have there are homeless kids out there that don't go to school because they don't have any clean clothes to wear. There are kids that avoid schools because they don't have whatever whatever it is that they need to go to school. I mean, there are serious.
Look at what it costs to go to school now. What each parent has to pay. You got to go. You got a laundry list of items that you got to go get for your child to go to school.
Yeah, just ask any educator how much they spend on supplementing, on buying items that so make sure kids got pencils and paper and stuff when they get to the classroom. You know, the schools do a good job. I mean, of providing supplies and stuff like that. But for a long time, the educators were doing that. Teachers were going into their pockets, you know, buying things for kids, you know, and they still do go into their pocket. And that's why we really got to appreciate our educators. But yeah, man, but there are consequences, and we can talk about this issue. But $500 billion from a program that is, I don't think that you until this administration, I don't think that you heard anybody even question the free and reduced lunch program.
Mm-hmm. So they're targeting nutrition. They're targeting health. Seems like health is because if you're taking away food.
No, they're not targeting nutrition, bro. They targeting
black people.
They targeting what the government spends, and they're saying that black people are poor people are an easy target. The $500 billion. If you're trying to cut taxes for the wealthy, you got to find cuts up somewhere else to offset that.
You gonna look is at the poorest.
Yeah, I mean, you go to the path of least resistance. That's where you go.
That's exactly what it is.
You go to you focus on the most vulnerable, the elderly, the poor. That's where you go.
Medicaid,
because they don't make no noise. They don't do no pushback. They are organizations. That's why you have organizations. That's why you have politicians to speak on their behalf. I just think that we kind of dropped the ball. Yeah. I think that collectively, the collective community dropped the ball. And now the people that can afford to suffer the least are being hurt the most. Because as a collective, as a community-wide collective, we dropped the ball. We got sidetracked on shit that don't matter.
Yeah.
We got sidetracked on fighting for rights that don't mean shit.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And real people are suffering because of it. Because our leaders got sidetracked on bullshit.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And it cost a lot. Yeah. The cost is not tomorrow. It's long term. You get more kids growing up that can't learn in school. So what do the doctors do, or the teachers do, or the parents do? They try to put the kids on drugs like Ritalin or these other supplemental drugs.
The kids suffer too. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. If a child eating a sugary diet, they're gonna be active. They're gonna be. And how do you control that? Ritalin and all this other bullshit. You know.
And then you got these stores that are accessible to the children, where the first thing you see is every bad snack you can think of right there in front of you. You walk in a store right now, you see 1,000 beautiful items that you could just tear into.
Yeah, but you don't. But you don't find
good for you. It's all unhealthy food, huh?
But you don't find those kind of stores in all the communities. You don't find. You walk in all that sugary stuff, tobacco, and all this kind of stuff right up front, right there in front.
And even they got the beer in the front door now, in the ice cooler.
They got that everywhere.
It's sad, and all I'm saying is the country is not developing people to take care of the country. It's developing people to destroy the country, because these people that are growing up now are coming out of high school with no opportunities to go nowhere, no trade to go nowhere, no money to go nowhere, no brain or no smarts to go to college, no smarts to go get a job. So what are they going to do? They're going to target the very people that put you in that position, the rich. And they're going to start taking and taking and taking. And now you're going to want to put them in prison. So you're talking about having half of America in prison. How are you going to do that? You're trying to disappear entire race of people?
Yeah.
Entire class of people?
Well, we just 1 year into this debacle that we're in, and so I can
imagine. We're 125 days.
Yeah, so get ready for this boat ride.
You know, we went all these years of smooth transactions, and all of a sudden now it's turmoil every single day. There's a turmoil, and it's not caused by the government. It's caused by the president, and you know, a $400 billion airplane and you cutting $300 billion from the Department of Agriculture. Come on, man. It's got to be better than that. We got to operate better than that and put a picture out there better than that, because now you got 1,000 other countries looking at America saying that they out of their damn mind over there. What is happening with America? And then you got our president bringing over the president of South Africa and sitting him in the office and we're trying to embarrass him with some news that you haven't even done. You don't know about it because you wanted to bring 42 Elon Musk buddies to America and make them citizens. And that's what you did. And as you didn't know, Elon Musk is from South Africa. That's his native home. So it's a problem here in America. And it's a problem the way we're conducting business.
But didn't we know that?
Then we know what?
Everything you just said, didn't we know that prior to the election?
Somebody act like they didn't give a damn about knowing that. They did. They voted for this man thinking that it was going to benefit them. And a lot of Hispanics voted for him too. And he targeted them first. And because there's nobody at the border trying to get in here, he's going into the universities. He just cut Harvard, all the foreign aid students that come over to Harvard, 1,000 kids, registered to go to Harvard.
But I heard on the news this morning that he did that. He's mad at all the Ivy League schools because Barron didn't get selected to go to any of those schools. See, Obama's daughters got selected to go to Harvard.
That chair. And you know what? You are 100% on that one. He probably is mad because they didn't select him.
No, he going to NYU. The Obamas, their kids, he wants to outdo Obama, right? His daughters went to Harvard. Mm-hmm. And Byron wasn't selected for Harvard, Yale, or any of those Ivy League schools. Mm-hmm. Now here you are. Mm-hmm. Here you are, the richest man in the world. You're Mr. Ivy League, and your son don't go
because he ain't got it. All right, so we're getting close to a close. So Claude, can I get your final comments on the school lunch or whatever you may want to talk about? Can you give it to us?
Well, I'll just briefly say, since we've gone past our time, that politics matter. Mm-hmm. There are consequences when we don't vote. Mm-hmm. There's consequences when we don't register to vote, and there's consequences when we don't show up at the polls. Mm-hmm. And the consequences gonna hurt some more so than others. I mean, if you got a job and a decent salary, you can weather this storm. Mm-hmm. But if you're making $7 an hour and you can't afford to 3 meals a day, afford to pay for lunch for your kids, because lunch ain't cheap.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the price of lunch is at a school?
No, how much?
It's quite a bit. I can't think of the right amount, but it's more than $2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so elections have consequences, and if you learn one thing from watching our show is, you know, that's the name of the game, and we trying to give you the information for you to get in the game, and you can't sit on the sidelines. I don't care whether you're making $7 an hour or just working off tips, because it's going to have something. Whoever gets elected going to have an impact on how you live your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just end with that.
All right, there you have it. There, Mr. Claude Foster talking about the consequences of not getting yourself registered and not voting when you have the opportunity to. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and proceed to close. I want to thank Mr. Claude Foster for being a part of the Black News Network and BNN 247. And we will definitely be back next Sunday with a different topic of discussion. So thank you, Mr. Claude, for your active input with BNN 247. We're focused on the school lunch program because it's very important to our families, to the success of our youth. Not only Black children, Hispanic children, Indian children, Korean children, there are children all over this country that are suffering financially and nutritionally. So today our discussion was about addressing food insecurities to our schools for our children that in our school age years. We want to prevent the summer learning loss, because if they're not getting a proper nutrition and they're taken away from this routine that they have of going to the school, then they're going to lose a lot of the mentality that they gain during the school year. Supporting healthy growth and development. If they're not eating a nutritious meal provided by the Department of Agriculture, which that's who supplement the schools with this good food, if they're not receiving this during the summer, then your body fails to develop in a proper manner. Until your body, you have to try and work with systems to keep our children fed during the summer when they're not going to school. Now, it's a relief when they go into school for the parents. They don't have to worry about their child eating lunch. But there are children still at school today that can't afford a reduced lunch at school, and they won't trouble their parents to do more than what they do to get them that free lunch. So they sit at school and watch other kids eat, and they say, "Oh, I ain't hungry." And it's a damn lie. You know, I've sit there and I've been there in that situation. It's been a long time ago, but I was in the situation. So children have to be fed, and it's up to the communities to start to get involved. Like Mr. Claude said, there are consequences to you getting home, locking your door, and staying inside and not participating in what's going on at your school, at your community center, neighborhood, local government, police department, where you live. You have to be involved. They have to know who you are some kind of way or another. And it doesn't matter that you might be from a 1 million strong city. You got local precincts in that city. That precinct, the police department calls meetings on a periodic basis. You can go to those meetings and you can make yourself known in those meetings by talking to police officers. You can also go to city council meetings and put your name on the list and say, I want to be a speaker at the next city council meeting. And you can address your concerns to the city council. And you have a councilman sitting on that board listening to you. And after you address it, now is your turn to go talk to your city councilman to address your need and what you want. There's so many opportunities out here that we are not taking advantage of. I really hope
this station. This is BNN 247, the real voice of Black USA, broadcasting from a live Black perspective. We do not own the rights to any music you may have heard, but we do own the rights to what we say. We look forward to seeing you again on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, with a new topic and more discussion about what we think and what the public thinks you should know more about. So from the Black News Network, we will see you very soon.